Hey everybody, and welcome back to another video. And today I want to explore a new color palette, and I picked one of this color dictionary book. It's the volume 1, and I just flipped through it and had a look which color combination I am interested in, and I'm going to try to replicate these with my watercolor palette and then just play a little bit with them in my, I would say, play journal. I really enjoy putting together color palettes, but I also find it really inspiring to have some color palettes given, and then I'm just trying to recreate these colors with my materials. Again, I'm using the Paul Rubens watercolor palette just because this one was still on my desk. It might be a bit more difficult than my other two palettes I often use when I'm painting because there are less colors in it, and I probably have to mix a little bit. I'm just laying down the paints intuitively. I just play and enjoy myself. I really like to use the time painting or sketching in this journal to just relax and get a little bit into the zone for, I would say, some short moments during the day. I think it was already here in the beginning where I realized that this yellow, I think it was the third yellow in this tin, that this also has the property to have a high flow to push away other pigments. And that's super interesting. And I really like to use this to create and to bring in some interesting effects into the paintings. And that's what I love about this playful art journaling, that you learn a lot about your watercolors and what you can do with them, and how they are different between each other. I'm always working on both pages, um, because then I don't have to wait for things to dry, and whilst the left side is drying, I can paint on the right. That's quite nice. That's also one of the reasons I have multiple sketchbooks, because sometimes I just would paint in the other sketchbook whilst the other one is drying, and the same with painting. I have always more paintings where I'm working on, so I can just let things dry and work on another painting. And I also think that loosens it up a bit because you are not stick to one image. Switching between a few makes it just easier, I would say, and automatically the painting gets more loose. And here I'm using that property of that high flow from the yellow in this circular shape. I really like these circles. I think they are fun to paint. They are quite easy. You don't have to think so much about, just lay down the shape. And that brownish red color from Paul Rubens, unfortunately, I don't know the names of them, because you can look them out at the swatch card, but then you have to know the number. The numbers but is not on the tin, just on the packaging, and that's a bit difficult. And this reddish brown color has a high flow, and here you can see the yellow does that as well. and that's really nice to know. I had the feeling that in some areas it was a little bit too intense and I wanted to lighten it up. So I used just a damp brush to soak up some of the paint from that circle. And I also want to bring in some contrast, and I try to mix myself a darker green to just bring in that dark value. The journal, by the way, I'm working in is also from Paul Rubens. I got that gifted some time ago. It's not my favorite paper because it's a cold press, and I like a hot press paper or a smoother cold press paper. This is very rough. It's not my favorite, but it's nice to just play with watercolors. If you are enjoying these type of videos, there are already 2 double spreads that I have recorded and they are up on YouTube already. I probably have already linked them into the info cards so you can check them out and watch if you haven't seen them. And if you want to see more videos, you can join my monthly membership in the mixed media play tier, which is $8.99 a month. You get a video every other Saturday, which is a mixed media process. Recently, it's a lot of watercolor painting, and you get also instantly all the old videos to watch, and these are about 60 videos already. If you have a play journal like this, it's not only good to learn more about the paints, it's also a good reference book that you can use later for paintings or for bigger work or for any other work you're making regarding the mark making and the patterns. Um, I have another sketchbook from the past where I've also have color palettes in but also mark making ideas and botanical sketches. And I often come back to it, flip through it, and use ideas from this book in my work. And that is going to be the same with this journal. As always, you will find a link in the video description to my blog where you can have a look at the finished paintings of this spread, and you will also find the product I've been using in the video description. And if you are enjoying the video, please like it and leave a lovely comment. I worked a lot on that circular shape now, and I'm going to let that dry and add some splatters, some turquoisey splatters to the left page. I really like both of the pages, and I really love the colors. I think they are working so good together. I also add some splatters to my circular image. It is still wet, so the paint will bleed in a little bit, which is quite interesting sometimes. And that's why I now switch to the yellow, because the paint is bleeding in, and this is a high flow paint that would give me even more effect, I would say. I let both pages dry, and now I'm back and I want to do some mark making, and I'm using just the watercolors for now, but I will also introduce some other materials later. I didn't really like the dots I made on the left, and here I'm just about to cover them up, or just uh, delete them, kind of. And that's what I always do when I have areas on a page or on a painting that I don't like. I try to get rid of them by just rewetting the watercolors, adding another layer. Depending on the materials you're using, that can be more difficult or less difficult. Of course, with mixed media, you always have the option to put in some opaque gouache paint, acrylic paint. You can add collage over the top. And that's why I usually do not really care about mistakes or things I don't like, because I can always change them. I think I'm switching brushes now. I'm going to use my fern brush to just create some different textures on the page. That's just a small one. I think it makes really interesting marks, and if you have one, it's definitely worth experimenting with it a little bit. I let both pages dry, and now I come in with other materials to do even more mark makings, build up layers, and that just gives me some depth in this work. And here I'm using the acrylic markers from Arrtx with the brush tip. They make nice teardrop shapes, but I also really love the Posca pens to get some dot patterns with them. Um, I like both of them. The Arrtx markers are my favorite when it comes to sketching and drawing. I really love to use them in my sketchbook because they are opaque and they dry quite matte. You can use them easily to cover things up, set highlights, or just, yeah, use them within the work because you can draw perfectly over the top with color pencils and all that kind of stuff. And that's why I use them quite a lot. But they are also quite fun for some mark making ideas. To make it just easier for my hand, I'm rotating my book. Um, why not? Here I'm also using an acrylic markers. This is also one from Arrtx with a bullet tip. And I like the Poscas a little bit more because their nib is a bit softer and you can get a bigger variety of dots, which you can't get with those, but they come in so many lovely colors. So yeah, it's always the Poscas have some nice colors, but not so many. And in these sets from Arrtx, you get so many colors and you almost always find the right color. Yeah, I'm also using a Neo color to make some marks. I love using Neo colors, but I'm not the biggest fan on this paper because it's so rough. You can see the texture then a lot when you draw with Neo colors. And that's what I don't like that much. I don't like paper texture. I'm not a fan of that. I don't know why, but that might be different for you. And that's why I'm not the biggest fan of Neo colors on these journal pages, but I think making a soft line just to bring in a little bit of some highlights and marks works quite nice. There it's not that important, but with bigger areas, I don't really like them. I think I'm coming to an end of the process. It's sometimes or always a little bit hard for me to stop because I enjoy that process so much of that mark making with all these materials. I think that's just pure fun. So I often have to tell myself to stop and leave things as they are. Finally, I'm using some white acrylic ink mixed with a little bit of water to make a few white splatters onto these. That brings in even more highlights and vibrancy, and I really like that. But also you have to be careful not to cover the entire page with these splatters. That will just be too much. Yeah, I hope you enjoyed today's video. I will leave you with some photos of the finished paintings, and I hope we will see us next time. Have a wonderful rest of the week. Bye.